Are they going to build this project? No! Are they going to build this project?
No!
Are they going to build this project?
No!
Take a look at who's here. You have people here from the business community, the environmental community. We have people here from the Winnemem Wintu and other Native American tribes. We have people here who fish. We have people here from taxpayer associations. Not too often you get people from all those kind of groups gathered together in the same place, but that's because we all understand what's at stake.
I'm Barbara Barragán-Perea. I'm Executive Director with Restore the Delta. And today, my friends and colleagues from Californians for a Fair Water Policy and other assorted allies, we return to mark this date, Friday the 13th, 2013, as the beginning of the 120-day formal public comment period of the Bay Delta Conservation Plan. This was in fact for holding this rally today so that we could let Governor Brown know our feelings about the proposed project at the beginning of the comment period. I think it's really important for people here at the Capitol today to hear from one of our colleagues from Southern California, Conner Everts with the Southern California Watershed Alliance.
Thank you all very much, and I am Conner Everts from the Southern California Watershed Alliance. I came up from Los Angeles early on this chilly morning to say why we don't need or want the Big Dumb Canal project. California only gets 30% of our water from the State Water Project. Where I live in Santa Monica, we're actually moving by the year 2020 to be independent of imported water. For Los Angeles to Southern California, our aquifers need to be cleaned up after the legacy of pollution. The San Fernando Valley has a huge aquifer, and only when we clean that up and invest in that first, and that'll take about $1 billion, can we fully use our stormwater and our recycled water. We only use about 2% of our reclaimed water in Los Angeles. Orange County's done a much better job. But even with that, our demand has been flat since 1978, with 1.4 million more people in Southern California. During this driest calendar year on record, there have been no restrictions on our water usage in Southern California. Rather, our water agencies, the big wholesalers, have said we have more than enough water. Go ahead and use what you want. We need to have the incentives we had back in the 90s when we did real conservation programs with community organizations. So why are we not acknowledging that it's been so damn dry, if we won't call it a drought? Because this dog of a project needs to be sold, and the drums will begin to beat for a drought and for a water crisis. My late mentor, Dorothy Green, would say we don't have a water crisis but a water management problem in this state. LA uses 123 gallons per person per day. That sounds like a lot. Long Beach is 107, but I'm sorry, Sacramento uses 224. I was on a water and energy tour in May in Australia to figure out how they use so little. They use 30 to 50 gallons per day per person. So we have a long ways to go. Thank you all very much.
To talk about the impact on sports fishing in the Delta, Bill Jennings.
Good afternoon, and so on this chilly Friday the 13th, the BDCP public comment period begins. They give us 40,214, I counted them, pages of documents, and that's a 9-foot high stack containing 20 more pages than the 32 volumes of the last printed edition of the Encyclopedia Britannica. And we're asked to provide comments within 85 working days. That's 473 pages a day. And if you want a printed copy, you can go over it and they'll sell you one for $3,000.
That's nice.
And when you turn the pages, you'll discover what William Burroughs meant when he observed that a paranoid schizophrenic is simply someone who's discovered what's going on. Since the State Water Project began exporting water in 1967, water exports have increased by more than 60%, outflow to the Bay has declined by more than 40%. The flow and water quality standards protecting the Delta have been violated hundreds of times without a single enforcement action taken. The water code, area of origin, watershed protection statutes have been ignored. And so it's not surprising that the Delta's biological tapestry is hemorrhaging. Populations of Delta smelt are down 98.9%, striped bass 99.6%, longfin smelt 99.7%, American shad 89.1%, threadfin shad 98.1%, and splittail 99.4%. And the anadromous fisheries have experienced similar declines. For example, winter run salmon and wild steelhead are down 95.5% and 91.7% respectively. Fisheries that evolved over millennia have been destroyed by greed in mere decades. And now the architects of this biological meltdown present us with a 40,000-page omelet of distortion, junk science, half-truths, and outright lies designed to create an artificial reality that you can restore an estuary disintegrating from lack of freshwater flow by stealing more water from it. They propose to build the tunnels now and decide how to operate them later. That's not restoration, that's a death sentence for one of the world's great estuaries. What you won't find in these 40,000 pages are answers to how much water the Delta needs, how much water will be exported, who has the legal rights to this water, and who is going to pay for this $50 billion scheme. Nor will you find responses to the federal agencies and independent scientists who have scathingly criticized the draft versions of this scheme as biased, flawed, unsupported, and highly speculative, that it will lead to species extinction. The State Water Board's observations that the tunnels will provide less water than presently exported if adequately fishery protection measures are established. Independent economists who have ridiculed the economic assessment and pointed out the huge financial risks. It will saddle the public with vast debt, undermine regional water self-sufficiency, and the water will simply be too expensive for farmers unless heavily subsidized by urban ratepayers. We will not allow our fisheries, farms, communities, and future prosperity to be sacrificed to enrich a South Valley industrial agriculture that comprises 0.3% of the state economy and is predicated upon embezzled water, massive public subsidies, unrestricted pollution, and subsistence wages. We'll fight this abominable scheme through the administrative halls, the courtrooms, and the ballot box. If necessary, we'll fight on the channels and sloughs and on the levees and through the fields to the very gates of hell. We will not surrender this Delta. Thank you.
You do have to also hear about the impacts on Delta farming. So Russell Van Löben Sels, if you can come on up.
Well, that'll be a hard act to follow, but Delta agriculture will be devastated by this big, destructive, crummy project, BDCP. The North Delta will be turned into a construction war zone. People will be forced from their homes from disruption of drinking water, domestic water supplies. The traffic from the trucks, thousands of trucks per day, will make agriculture impossible. The Northern Delta will become a destructive war zone. Now, the Delta is more than just the North. If you take a look at the Western and the Central Delta, the Western and Central Delta, because of even more reduced flows than we have today, will become saltier. And that will destroy agriculture in those areas. If you look at the South Delta, where the many times water quality objectives have been violated, it will become even worse. So Delta agriculture will be destroyed by, number one, the footprint, and number two, the water quality issues, and number three, the removal of over a third of the agricultural area to convert to other uses and or limit the crops that can be grown. So those of us in Delta agriculture are really opposed to this project, and I can't say, as Bill said, but we need to get this project where it belongs, in a bullpen.
In addition to Delta communities, this project would have a devastating impact on the Winnemem Wintu. I'd like to call up Caleen Sisk.
Estem Chalit, Ukuin Ilui, Netoyet, Winnemem Wintu Lahi, Caleen Sisk. I just want to say for the California tribes that this whole process have ignored California water rights, the first in time, first in use. Our fisheries, our subsistence to water is totally left out of this study. We had a meeting the day after the project was released, and for some tribes it was the first time on Tuesday that they heard and were informed about the BDC. So we have many, many concerns, and one is that I think the California people need to recognize that all of the rivers in California are contaminated, and now we want to redirect them to the cities to use that water without any cleanup, without any acknowledgement that there's so much that needs to be done with our water systems. The plan also is that they will raise Shasta Dam to fill some of the sites and other reservoirs they're planning to build to send this water through the tunnels. And we have major concerns that were brought up on Tuesday from California tribes that there is no studies on the burials that will be dug up in the Delta, and no idea of how many bones or human remains that will be needing to be relocated, and no consultation with tribes has happened. We are people who sing to water. We go to the mountain and we pray for the water because we know that the water travels around the world. And this water is a sustainable spirit being that takes care of all people in all places. Whatever rain falls on our mountain, whatever snow falls on our mountains comes from somewhere else. And this brown water project plan, and I call it the brown water because it will be brown water when he's done, is not good for salmon. It is not a sustainable way to redevelop our fisheries. That's what we want. We want our fisheries back. California is one of 4 states on the Pacific coast. And this state has the capability and capacity and should be the #1 state in fish and salmon, in wild Chinook salmon production. And we are the state with the biggest estuary in this Pacific coast. And we have that capability and used to do that. Our river ran black with salmon. The backs of the salmon you could walk across. We need to pressure that so that everybody has good water. It's not that we don't want Southern California to have good water, but from what I understand of the project is that if you look at the maps, and this is what we asked them at the tribal meeting, show us the map where the water goes. And they never put that map up. But there is a map out there that shows that this water goes to 5 brand new communities that are not even here yet, and to 2 fracking mines that we don't really need. Exactly. Issues here is how do we keep our water clean and safe and drinkable? When the Shasta Dam has 60 foot of toxic waste, we have to rethink this plan because brown water is coming and we have to stop it. Thank you.
I'd like to call up 2 people together. We have 2 county supervisors who have worked long and hard on Delta issues, Sacramento County Supervisor Don Nottoli and San Joaquin County Supervisor Ken Vogel.
Well, thank you, Barbara. But the bottom line is that this project, the BDCP, creates no new water, that it will have massive and lasting negative impacts on the Delta, its people, its economy, and that includes the state of California. And that if we're going to be looking for solutions, we need to have those conversations, do it diligently. We as county representatives are engaged in that and willing to stand with all of you and many others to do that. But in my view, in the view of many of my colleagues, sacrificing the Delta for benefit of other regions of the state is not and will never be the answer.
We think, as Don expressed very well, This doesn't help the Delta at all. This doesn't help this region at all. This doesn't include the making any more water available. It sucks money out of California that can be used for regional self-sufficiency in areas. It's a total desolation of the Delta. It does no good for California. Thank you to the Restore the Delta, and thank you for all of your work here today. Thank you.
Again, I'm Bill Wells. The heart of the BDCP, as you know, is a plan to divert the Sacramento River around the Delta. This will result in greater salinity in local waters, which will cause higher maintenance costs to boaters and marina owners. And according to the EIR, areas dewatered during construction will see water tables drop significantly, as will the water level on the Sacramento River. Boats will end up stranded in marinas without water. In fact, just go look at the river today. It's not very deep right now, so imagine when we're diverting another 9,000 cubic feet per second. Boats will end up stranded in the marinas. The state has not taken these impacts into account in its analysis. Most of the marine-related businesses in the Walnut Grove Lock area will be destroyed to make room for fish screens and water intakes. Sacramento River fish populations will be endangered, and navigable waterways will be clogged with greater levels of invasive plants. You only need to look at the problems that currently exist on the San Joaquin River because of excess water diversions to see what will happen on the Sacramento River if the BDCP is completed. These include out-of-control water hyacinth, selenium and salt pollution, fish die-offs from lack of oxygen, and toxic algae blooms. Citizens of California need to work together to reduce dependence on the Delta, not increase it. The Delta is a treasure for all citizens, not just a plumbing feature to be exploited by the water cartels. Jerry Brown said this week that he will do, this is a quote from him, anything humanly possible to build his peripheral tunnels. Well, I'm here to say we'll do anything humanly and legally possible to stop him, and I'm confident we'll win. Thank you very much. I'm Bill Wells, and I approve this message.
Are they going to build this project? No! Are they going to build this project? No! Are they going to build this project? No!